In today's video, as we continue the video series on communication, we're going to be talking about adaptability. So this is where we're going to forget the golden rule. What's the golden rule? Well, we usually tend to treat people the way that we want to be treated. And this is when it comes to communication, we need to throw that out the window and replace it with the platinum rule. So what's the platinum rule? We want to treat others the way they want to be treated. So what does that mean? Well, again, we have different communication styles. So if we treat other people or we respond to them or meet them in our preferred communication style, then we might be missing the boat in how they prefer being communicated to. So I'm going to use an example of giving feedback and walk you through the example of what that would look like if you were giving feedback to each of the different DISC styles. So let's start with a D. If you had to give feedback to a D style or someone who prefers to be communicated in a D style, how you would do it is clear, concise, and to the point. And these are the types of individuals that don't usually want to hear all the good stuff that they're doing and then getting to some of the areas of development. These are the people that get to the areas of development and get to it quickly because they want to know, how can I do better to get those results? So that is very different if you were giving feedback to an I style. Because an I style, first of all, if you're walking in and giving feedback to an I style, then you better ask them how they're doing, how their weekend was, and first you're relating to them as a person before you're even getting down to giving them any kind of feedback. And when you do get to the point where you're giving them feedback, you want to make sure that for them you are listing a whole bunch of things that they're doing right, quote unquote, or things, positive reinforcement, so that they feel that they're cared for, they can trust you before you get to the point where you're giving them any kind of tips on areas of development. So that's your I style. And also, I's want to understand, well, how can this make them even more influential or more about how they can succeed and get to the next level of success. So that's your I. When you're giving feedback to an S, this is your steady style. First of all, you want to make sure that your pace and how you're talking to an S is a little bit slower. You also want to give them time to process information. So these are not the type of people that you give them the information and you walk away. You might even want to have a follow-up meeting with an S to make sure that everything that you said to them, that they understood and that they had the time really to just let it sink in. With an S style as well, you want to remember that these people or the behaviors of this type of people are about community, people, their team. So these are usually the glue in families and communities and organizations. So with your S style, you want to mention about how whatever feedback you're giving them might impact their team or the collective, because that's their priority. When you're giving feedback to a C, you want to make sure that, again, it's slower pace than you would talk to a D or an I, for example, which prefer sort of a faster pace. And then you would also make sure that with a C, you're providing data. So they want to understand, if you're going to give them feedback, then you need to back it up with examples, scenarios, and also make sure that when you're clear about what it could look like or what that area of development should look like, then also providing data, feedback, examples. So with them, you want to make sure that you're coming in with details, which is completely the opposite than a D, which is get to the point, right? So you can see how adaptability is key. In this case, we're talking about giving feedback, but think of this on day-to-day interactions with different individuals. And we want to make sure, again, that we're meeting every single person where they are and not where we are. So I want to hear your experience. What's your experience with meeting everyone at their preferred communication style? Do you also get caught up in your own communication style, and what does that look like? And what might some of the consequences be when we get caught up in our style versus meeting others where they're at? Share with me in the comments below.